Hi and welcome to Debunk File. My name is Sep and today we're going to be covering an incredibly disturbing case involving the Redditor, Lady Iris. Before this video begins, I have to provide a quick warning. In case the title didn't make it clear enough, this video is going to involve the discussion of some horrible things happening to cats, as well as some other horrific behaviors on display. This truly is not for the faint of heart, and if you find this subject matter to be too much, you may want to click off here. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Now back to the video. The internet is a place that is so large, it's next to impossible to truly comprehend it. It's estimated that approximately 4.9 billion people have access to the internet, a number that is truly staggering. This number means that over half of the entire population has internet access on this planet. And with that number, it means that some horrible things tend to slip through the cracks. But if you've watched us for a while, you already know this. We have discovered and covered some pretty disturbing things throughout our channel's run, but out of all of our internet finds ever, this may take the cake as the single most disturbing one of them all. You see, on Reddit, there are a number of subreddits that have to do with getting disturbing things off your chest. In one of our previous videos, we went through one of those, that being the Confession subreddit. In there, thanks to the anonymity of the platform, people consistently say some pretty deranged things, and the subreddit that this video resides in is the same way. Tonight's video predominantly took place on the morbid questions subreddit. Obviously, this subreddit has to do with asking questions that are, well, morbid. In a way, we all have these types of questions, ones that are very messed up that we want to ask, but we just can't because it would be too inappropriate to say. In that sense, the subreddit does have some use, and I can completely understand its existence and purpose. However, it isn't even really just about the posts a subreddit like this can show. While there are some serious red flags that arise from some of these posts, it's also about the people that it brings to light. In our case here, Reddit saw someone that is truly depraved. Tonight, we're going to go through the entire saga of Lady Iris, the Reddit cat killer. As far as we can tell, the first post Lady Iris ever made was in March of 2015. Believe it or not, finding the initial account here was extraordinarily difficult, and I actually got it wrong twice. If there are earlier accounts of posts, it's because the archives didn't pick them up. But as it stands, this is as far back as we go. While she's best known for her posts on the Morbid Questions subreddit, it appears that a ton of her early ones were actually on Ask Reddit as well. As another interesting tidbit, this original account I found isn't even called Lady Iris, which is what she would be best known as. It's actually called Allegretta, and some of the early posts don't even get into the subjects that she'd be best known for later. Lots of these early posts were pretty run-of-the-mill questions for these subreddits, and were certainly a little odd, but they weren't necessarily things you'd completely stop in your tracks for. This all changed in April of 2015. Back on the aforementioned Confession subreddit, she made a post entitled,
"Killing insects is fun and stress relieving for me."
This certainly isn't even as close to as bad our things are going to get, but it's the first instance of a post coming along that will surely get you a little uneasy. Things wouldn't initially get weirder instantly after this post, but one thing that did happen was for Lady Iris to question empathy for the first time, which is something that will become extremely common from this point forward, and something that is certainly interesting, to say the least. April of 2016 bore witness to the first serious red flag. The post was titled,
Reddit, how do you know that one of your loved ones is not truly a serial killer who has covered their tracks very well?
And if that title wasn't weird enough, the comment she makes after it is what truly shook me to my core for the first time. This thread begins with someone stating that they truly believe their grandfather may have fit the bill for the post's title, and Lady Iris seems a little excited to hear the details. If that wasn't weird enough, her final comment on the matter is sure to widen your eyes.
I guess I would find it really cool if one of my relatives had been a murderer, but then again, it's something I've always wanted to carry out.
As terrifying as this is, it's only the beginning. From this point on, questions definitely got noticeably weirder, especially since she found the Morbid Questions subreddit at around this time, the place she's known for best. Stuff like,
what's wrong with enjoying the thought of killing someone if you never plan to act on it?
And
what do you think you'd enjoy the most about killing someone?
Are just a few examples of constantly repeating questions that would be asked each and every single day to the Morbid Questions subreddit, where she would quickly become known as a result of the constant posting. As you may guess, it gets pretty repetitive to sift through some of these since so many of them are similar, but there were a few noticeable outliers that are worth mentioning in greater detail. And they sure are terrifying. One of these questions is our first mention of cats. The question is titled,
what would physically happen to a cat if you nuked it in the microwave?
I was going to ask why the hell she asked a question like this, but in the replies it becomes clear. She just wanted to hear an in-depth account of the suffering of one. One other question that also involved kittens was,
do you believe it is worse to murder kittens than it is to murder people?
This question had quite the interesting reply as well. When giving her own input on the matter, Lady Iris says,
I don't know. I think a lot of people deserve to die. I also think that murder could be thrilling, but kittens are just so innocent.
At first I thought her referring to the kittens in this way meant that she would not want to harm them when compared to humans, but with knowing what we'll know later, I think it may actually mean the opposite. However, nothing would prepare us for the final question asked on this account. It said,
do you believe it is morally wrong to buy a hamster just so you can enjoy cutting it up and killing it?
Absolutely terrifying. And in the comments, she gets into her reasonings for this. According to her, she'd like to satisfy her fetish for murder but hasn't done it yet and doesn't know if she will. Naturally, this post inflicted pure panic on everybody that saw it. There were people telling her to seek help, others that were in awe of what they were witnessing, and it ended with Lady Iris being shadow banned from the sub, where she would then delete her account. And well, I truly wish things ended there, but it still gets worse from here on out. She would of course make a new account after, where she would adopt the name Lady Iris for the first time, the name that she's most well known for today. One interesting thing here is that this account is the only one that isn't removed. It still wound up getting abandoned later on, but it remains open to this day. I dug through this entire account, and it was basically the same few types of questions over and over again, but my only question was, why was this one abandoned? As like I said before, it was never banned or deleted like the others. Whatever the case, it's still baffling to see the consistency at which these questions are being asked, and even scarier to know that it still doesn't end here. Lady Iris 2 came next, and this was the account that would hold arguably the largest number of posts, as well as the most disturbing ones yet. Many of the posts still revolved around those same few types of questions, but there were some others in here that truly stood out. The first of which had to do with a question asked regarding how she can deal with her urges to take a life in a safe and legal way. And in the comment section of this post, something different than what we have gotten accustomed to seeing happened. Instead of immediately getting on the defensive like she would often do, on one of her replies she says,
it's not that I can't suppress it, I can and I usually do. I guess that's part of the reason why I'm asking for advice online. Because I want to find a way to get some pleasure and indulge some of these fantasies, but without running anybody's life over it. It's not that I expect to be validated, but I do feel that one should be able to openly discuss ideas and thoughts that make people uncomfortable. In some ways, it's better that I air it and I'm open about it, because it leaves less to fester and it also gives people an idea where I'm coming from. That being said, in my response to the user below, I mentioned that I've strongly considered seeking help and at least hope to find someone who will listen to me without judgment. With a busy schedule right now, I don't want to invest time and money unless I know the experience will be worthwhile. I also don't want to be committed or given medication or marked as a danger to society just because I have some very vivid fantasies.
This response leaves me unsure of what to think. On one hand, it seems at the very least encouraging that this time around she's aware of these behaviors not being okay, and possibly doing something about them. However, a reply to this comment helped illustrate something about this comment that is, for a lack of a better term, horrifying.
It's not that I can't suppress it. I can and I usually do. I can and I usually do. I usually do. Usually.
And on just the following post, we got to see what this usually may have been referring to. In this post, she was essentially upset at the constant downvoting she received on the subreddit, as in her mind, these were morbid questions and she was sticking to the name of the sub. Of course, users were quick to remind her of her psychopathic behaviors, and in one of her replies, we got our first mention of a behavior actually being carried out.
Actually, I don't enjoy the idea of torturing animals. I did kill a cat once to try it, that's true. But as a rule, I don't really go out of my way to hurt animals, and most likely won't ever do it again.
You heard that right. The same user that claimed all her thoughts were mere fantasies has now admitted to taking the life of an animal in the past. The thread doesn't even end there either, though. She then is quick to fire back by saying that since there was no impulse, since the decision was made all by her, that she can't be mentally ill, and that this action, while evil, doesn't make her brain any different, since she still knows right from wrong. Regarding the cats, there are sadly a couple posts that are directly about her experience and thoughts regarding them. One of which is,
Do you personally believe it's as morally bad to torture or kill animals as it is to harm a human? Why or why not?
She doesn't make any direct references to what she has done to cats in the past here, but it was worth mentioning. There's also the post of,
Has anyone here ever made a game out of trying to hit as many small animals with your car as possible?
Again, she didn't really reply to anything, but it's still an incredibly disturbing post to see pop up. Then we finally have,
If skinning cats were a job, what hourly wage would you require to do it?
In the comments of this extremely disturbing post title, someone stated that they could never do such a thing, to which Lady Iris replied,
You would not like what I did then.
After this, the commenter immediately stated that they hoped this was just a one-time thing, to which Lady Iris says,
It probably was, because animal killing is far less interesting. Also, a lot of cleanup for a quick throw.
In early 2017, this account would disappear. Believe it or not, she was actually a moderator on the Morbid Questions subreddit, which is something that kind of baffles me. Although I guess she did ask the most morbid of questions. Still though, knowing that a literal cat killer was modding a sub for a while blows my mind. For a while, things were actually quiet. This account was either deleted by her or banned 4 years ago, and for what seemed like forever, she truly wasn't returning. Perhaps this was finally the end of one of the most disturbing things I have ever seen on Reddit, but there would be one more occurrence. Fast forwarding all the way to 2020, posts began finally returning that looked all too familiar. After over 3 years of absence from Reddit, it appears she was finally back, as if she never even left, asking those same disturbing types of questions that we saw all those years ago. The final post would be in November of 2020, where she was swiftly banned, and as of now, that is the most recent occurrence of Lady Iris on the internet. But despite her being gone, for the time being at least, there are still a number of questions to ask yourself regarding everything we have seen here today. Something we quickly have to address is the amount of people that question the validity of these posts. Tons and tons of people actually thought these were just all trolling and bait. I understand how Reddit is and the attention-seeking nature of many people on the platform. If you've watched us in the past, we've quite literally covered a few Reddit mysteries where it wound up being just that. But in this instance, the likelihood of that being the case seems extremely low. I suppose it's true that we don't have any legitimate, bona fide proof of anything happening here, but the consistency and sheer volume of the activity here just does not line up with some troll. It's clearly not the case this time, but I just thought I'd mention it really quickly since I saw it being said so much. Of course, the first true question here is, well, what happened to cause her to disappear for 3 whole years? And more so than that, what does this all mean? The reason both of these questions are so important is because Reddit served as her outlet for these feelings for a number of years. Without the platform, what is that outlet? This is a really disturbing question to me because we are already well aware of her history. She expressed extreme desire in killing a hamster for a while, and then literally admitted to killing a cat just to see what it was like. For that first question, it's truly impossible to say what happened that caused this 3-year-long absence. Perhaps she was truly annoyed at the Redditors that rightfully opposed her viewpoints so often and just felt she had to get off. Maybe during that time, she found a new way of expressing these feelings. For better, there are a million possibilities for why she vanished for 3 whole years, and even why she isn't that active today either. But at the end of the day, they'd just be theories. We'd have no way of proving anything. We'd only be able to speculate. All we truly know is that she did eventually wind up coming back, and while it has been many months once again, there is a possible chance that she could return once more. Beginning with that second question of what that all means, overall, everything about this reminds me of one specific person, Luca Magnotta. If you don't know who this individual is, he had a long presence on the internet, first beginning with an infamous, incredibly disturbing video that depicted him murdering some kittens in one of the worst ways imaginable. The similarities reside in how everything began with them both. Both stories began on the internet, where they'd very frequently post things, and both of them got much worse as they went on. Lady Iris definitely eased into the behavior we saw by the end, and with Luca, what started with cats ended with a man. This is my greatest fear in finding something like this. The behaviors displayed by Lady Iris truly get under my skin, as she has repeatedly said that the only thing holding her back from murder is the law. That's it. What if that thought process changes one day? She'd say over and over again that these things are just fantasies and would never become anything more than that, but they already did. She killed a living, breathing animal and got a momentary rush from it. And there are countless stories that show humans usually serve as that next step eventually. It just so happens that Luca Magnotta's in particular bore some major similarities to me, so I felt I needed to make that connection. More so, going back to that question of the online presence, if these disturbing posts truly were that main way of getting these feelings out, would we actually rather them happen than not happen?
That's a complex question that I really don't know the answer to, but it's worth asking every single time we make a video like this.
We point back to the anonymous nature that the internet can provide, and it's worth doing once again in this instance. There isn't anything that could be realistically done here due to the fact. All we can do is hope they'd get help someday regarding these feelings, but by their own logic we saw during all this, that seems very unlikely to happen. While her fantasy logic was proven wrong a number of times due to the aforementioned actions she admitted to doing, hopefully she's at least telling the truth regarding actual people. But the fact that I am not 100% certain of that fact is truly scary. She also mentioned how she acts as a person a number of times during this all, explaining herself as friendly, extroverted, and well-liked by her peers. This all truly goes to show how much more there is to people than what is shown off in the surface. Overall, this concludes the story of the Reddit cat killer. This was most definitely the most disturbing thing we've ever covered from the internet, and sadly, it still has many more questions than it does answers. I guess the only thing we can hope for at this rate is that she experiences a change in logic once again, and truly gets some help regarding the feelings we've seen on display. As it stands, this was one of the most insane deep dives into the human mind we have seen yet. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to follow all of our social medias for updates and exclusive content, all linked in the description. We'd also love you guys to consider joining our brand new Patreon, Debunk Plus, for only $1 a month. You get access to videos early, exclusive content, and our podcasts. New episodes are coming pretty soon. And of course, make sure to like this video, share this with your friends, and subscribe. As always, my name is Seth from Debunk File. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.